Okay, and if you are solving heat transfer problem, you will get another equations. Okay. Now, what was the problem we have said in this equation? In this equation, this pressure for this incompressible flow. Now you have U, V, and P as a variables. So you have equations for this U and V, but we do not have equation for this pressure. Okay, so that is the biggest problem in this 2D incompressible Navier-Stokes equations. So to elevate that, the one of the method in use was string function vorticity formulation. Stream function vorticity formulation. So that we have seen from the definition of stream function and vorticity how that those equations are derived. So finally, we got this equation for our vorticity, and here there will be no pressure term. Okay, so there is no pressure term. Stream vorticity formulation is used in order to remove this term, which is a problem with the Navier-Stokes equation. So converting this equation into a form where this pressure is neglected. There is no pressure. So since there is no pressure, we do not have any problem of solving for this unknown. Pressure is unknown. So here that unknown is removed and we have these known parameters. And then we have another equation that is for 2D del square psi del y square is equals to, okay. So we have this and we have definitions. We have definitions of u. So you have del psi del y, v negative del psi del x. Okay. So with the definition of u, v and these equations, equation number 1, equation number 2, we can and equation number 3, we can calculate the velocity fields. Okay, u and v can be calculated from these equations. Okay, so these are the equations we have derived in the previous class. We have derived this equation in the previous class. Okay, now how do we solve? So I'll just write an algorithm to solve this. Okay. So you can use your methods. You can use the methods which you already discussed, like uh, you can use z n plus 1 minus delta t. So time discretization, then you can have uij. Okay, since it is a two-dimensional, so we are talking in terms of uij, and this del psi del z upon del x, that has to be done on the basis of the sine of on the basis of the sign of this. Okay, so that is upwinding. I'm just writing ij, and that has to be based on the sign of uij. Either it can be a forward difference or backward difference. This can be a forward difference or backward difference, FD or BD, based on the sign of uij. Similarly, based on the sign of vij, you will have this del z del y. Okay, and for these terms, you have your central difference equations, and you can write like. And all you can consider at nth level. Okay, so you can calculate z z I g n plus 1. Okay, once you have calculated this, you can also calculate this by using your central difference. So psi I plus 1 comma j minus twice psi ij plus psi I minus 1 comma j divided by delta x square plus psi I j plus 1 minus twice psi ij plus psi I j minus 1 divided by delta y square is equals to zeta ij. Okay. So from this equation, you can calculate zeta. You can substitute here that zeta and you calculate this. So all these are n plus 1. Okay. So what does it mean when these are n plus 1th level values? It means that you have to solve this equation iteratively. You have to solve this equation iteratively. Okay, to get the values of psi. And once you get the values of psi, you have to calculate uij by using these differences del psi del y at ij and vij. You have to use difference here. So either you can use central difference, forward difference, backward difference. So central difference is having a good accuracy. So you can write it like psi I plus I comma j plus 1 minus psi I j minus 1 divided by twice delta y. Similarly, Vij you can write like negative of del psi del x ij. So here you can write negative of psi I plus 1 comma j minus psi I minus 1 comma j divided by twice delta x. Okay. So you can calculate like this. So the algorithm is this. Algorithm is that you have to solve this equation 1, then solve equation 2 iteratively, and then finally calculate the values of u and v using these values, obtained values. Here, these will be the values. So use these values psi here to get the solution. So number one, okay. Number one is initialize zeta, psi, all these values, maybe delta x, delta y, nu, and all other parameters which are there. Once you have done this, second, solve equation 1. Solve equation 1 explicitly to get xi n plus 1 ij at all the interior points. All interior points. Okay. And then solve equation 2 iteratively using direct or indirect method, direct or indirect method to get psi n plus 1 ij values. Okay. So once you have got this, then update boundary conditions. So update, you have to update boundary conditions after every this thing. So update boundary conditions for, what are the boundary conditions you have to give? You have to give boundary conditions for zeta and boundary condition for psi. Okay, this has to be derived from the equations. Okay, and then obtain uij and vij from equation 3. Okay, so that is what our target was, to find out u and v. Okay, so this is the algorithm to find out that. I'm not going to take what are the boundary conditions. These you can look at into the. So I'm not very much interested in this stream function vorticity formulation, because it is limited only for 2D problems, and for 3D problems we do not have definition of stream function, so we cannot extend. But in order to give you some glimpse of how we can solve the equations, Navier-Stokes equations using stream function vorticity formulation, to make it complete, I just showed you how to do it. Okay. So now there are two terms most of the times people are using, like that primitive variable approach, primitive variable approach, primitive variable approach, okay, and non-primitive. So whenever they are saying primitive variable approach, it means that they are talking about this variables u, v, w, pressure. So these are called as primitive variables. Okay, and non-primitive means this zeta, psi, or any other potential, velocity potential, maybe some velocity potential or something. So all these are derived variables, and these are primitive variables. These are derived variables. Okay. So this difference you remember, that whenever people are saying that key primitive, solve using primitive variable approach, means they are asking you to solve the problem using these equations, Navier-Stokes equations. Otherwise, they are asking you to solve using another other non-primitive variable kind of formulation, like stream vorticity formulation or any other formulation available. Okay. So though this method is very good in terms, there is no pressure and things like that, very accurate solutions you get, but there are problem with formulation of boundary conditions. Okay, the boundary conditions for zeta and psi, they are not straightforward. They has to be derived, and they are very complicated. Second thing is that they are related. So boundary conditions are complicated. BCs are complicated. BCs BCs are complicated. Okay. Second thing is that limited to 2D problems. Limited to 2D problems. Okay. So these are the two things which you should keep in mind while using this particular method. So this is explicit. You have to solve using explicitly. Explicitly means you have given the only one unknown and all are known. And iteratively means many unknowns are there and you have to do some iterative method till you get some convergence and you find the value. So you have to use some sort of direct method or iterative method. Here there is no simultaneous equations need to be solved in case of 2. Here simultaneous equations need to be solved in order to get the solution of psi. And then finally you have to update the boundary conditions and then you have to obtain the values of u and v. Okay. So that was the approach. Okay. So having said that, we'll move on to the Navier-Stokes equations. Okay. So we'll move on to the Navier-Stokes equations. That is what our main purpose, to solve the Navier-Stokes equation using uh, number one, SMAC method, which is called as simplified marker and cell marker and cell method. Okay. Second method is simple, which is full form is semi implicit method for pressure link for pressure link LNKED equations. Okay. So we will be using two methods. Number one, SMAC and simple. Okay. And in most of the cases, we will use finite difference method. Okay. So we'll use finite difference method to do all this. So I'll not be touching upon finite volume method. Okay. So starting here will be I mean, it will unnecessarily lead to complications. So I'm just focusing on finite difference method, and that should be enough for you guys. Okay. Now, in previous cases, whenever we were taking a geometry, for example, we had a square box, isn't it? So that time we used to convert that domain into various subdomains. What you usually call it is as grid generation. Okay. So that time we used to generate grid like this. We used to convert a domain into multiple domains. And that time we used to say that Okay. Okay. Anyway, so in those cases, we used to take the vertex. Okay. We said like this is a vertex. This is a one node. Okay. This is another node, third node, fourth node, fifth node, sixth node, seventh, eighth, ninth, 10th, 11th. Okay. So in these cases, we were focusing on the vertex. Okay. So whenever you are taking vertex, okay. So in actually when you are talking Navier-Stokes equations, we need to have cells. Okay. So in that case, one can consider like these are the this dotted is a one cell and then there is a center. Then there is a center. Okay. So we could form another layer where you say that this is a face now. This is a face. Okay. Which this is a cell. This dotted is a cell having one face, face 1, face 2, face 3, face 4. Okay. Similarly, for all other cases, we could do. But there is another approach where we can do the same thing, which I am just trying to show here. That is called as cell-centered approach. So in the cell-centered approach, rather than considering the vertex, we will consider the cell center. Okay. And rather than constructing the new hypothetical cell, we will consider the actual cell. So how do we do that? I'll just demonstrate here. Okay. So if this is a domain and converted into small domains, then we will say that the cell center. Okay. So this is our first cell. Okay, I. This I plus 1, or say this is I, this is I minus 1 and I plus 1. Okay. If it is J, J minus 1, J, J plus 1. You're getting this? So cell center. What are you doing is we are considering IJ as cell centers. Okay. And for the boundaries, we will be considering one extra layer. One extra layer which is called a ghost cell. This particular cell is called a ghost cell. This particular cells are called as ghost cells. These are called as ghost cell. Okay. And these ghost cells also have their own cell center. Okay. Ghost cells also have their cell centers. And these ghost cells will be everywhere on the boundary. Sometimes these are called as boundary patches also. Okay. So this is your cell center, cell center. This is ghost cell. This is face. So this is phase 1. Okay. One phase, phase 1, phase 2, phase 3, phase 4. Every cell will have a length, height, and breadth also depending on 2D. In 2D, length and height, and in 3D, we will have a depth also. Okay. So accordingly, they will have a faces. Now in this case, line is a face, second line is a face, third line is a face, and fourth one is a. So this is called as face. Okay. And face has a center also. Face has a center. So what is a face center? If this is the face, then it will have a center. So center of the face is this. Center of the face is the midpoint between this midpoint of this line. This is a face center. So this is called as face center. Okay. And this is called as cell center. So this is a cell. This is a cell. So center of the cell is called as cell center. And this is a ghost cell. So this is a ghost cell center. Okay. Okay. Now, when you consider this particular approach, when you consider this particular approach, there are two ways. One is called as staggered grid, and another called as collocated grid. Collocated grid. Okay. So I'll just show you the difference between these two. What does it mean by staggered grid and collocated grid? So in case of staggered grid, let me just show you a one cell first. So this is a cell center, and we have face centers, and we have face centers. Okay. So at the cell center, pressure is stored. At the cell center, pressure is stored, but at the face centers, their respective velocities. Now, since this is the x direction, so u will be stored here, and v will be stored in the y direction face. Okay. So, the face normal to the y direction, and y direction velocity is v. Okay. So, u variable will be stored at this face, and v variable will be stored at this face. Similarly, u here and v here. Okay. So at the face centers, velocities are stored. So so number one point is at face centers, velocities are stored. Okay. And at cell center, pressure and any other variable, any other scalar. Any other scalar means like temperature, any other scalar like temperature are stored. In collocated grid, we have a cell, we have a cell center, we have face centers also. Okay. And in collocated grid, all the variables P, U, V, T, they are stored at cell centers. Okay. So in collocated grid, all the variables are stored at cell centers. Okay. So you may ask question that why these two type of configurations came into picture. So there was a something like problem of pressure velocity coupling. Okay, pressure velocity coupling. So if you use collocated grid arrangement and discretize the equation, then you obtain that this pressure is not coupled with the neighboring the pressure is not coupled with the velocity at these points. Okay, velocities at these points are not coupled with the pressure. So these problems are there with collocated grid. However, when you use such a kind of formulation, staggered grid formulation, then this pressure velocity coupling problem do not occur. Okay, pressure velocity decoupling problem do not occur. So pressure is coupled with u velocity, and velocities are coupled with pressure. So they have a strong connection between them. So that is the reason most of the time these staggered grids are widely used. Okay. But nowadays grids are used. Nowadays collocated grids have become fashion, and they have overcome that pressure velocity coupling using something called as you know um, some fix some fix is used. Okay. So I do not want to discuss this collocated grid. You in your advanced CFD courses you can look at this collocated grid arrangement. So we'll do with the staggered grid arrangement. Okay, that is what our interest in this course, to do with staggered grid arrangement using SMAC algorithm and simple algorithm. That is our task to do. Okay. So whenever you are doing staggered grid arrangement, we need a cell with a cell center, face centers. So we have to adopt this particular strategy. Okay. So you will have a boundary ghost cells. Okay. At all boundaries, you will have a boundary ghost cells with boundary ghost cell centers, and every interior cells will have a cell center with their faces. Cell center with their faces. Okay. So you got this philosophy. If you have got this philosophy, then we can move on to the next. So that is called a SMAC algorithm. So I'll just try to show you what is a SMAC algorithm. What is a SMAC first? Okay. So let us consider that SMAC case on 2D. Okay. So 2D and incompressible flow. Now we have written these equations del u, del x, okay, del v, del y. Okay. Now these equation are always unknown. Okay, these u, v are always known. What about second del u? So in the second category, these things. Okay, this del u, del t, you can write explicitly u n plus 1 minus u n delta t plus u del x So this all term can be at nth level plus v del u del y nth level, okay, and 1 minus negative 1 by rho del p del x, this also at nth level, plus nu del square u del x square plus del square u del y square, okay, this nth. Okay. Similarly, v n plus 1 minus v n divided by delta t plus u del u del x n del v del x n plus v del v del y n is equals to 1 minus del p del y n plus nu del 2v del x2 plus del 2v del y2 n. Okay, so this is how we have to get this. Okay, but this is not known. Okay, from our previous cases, we have seen that this particular term has to be implicit. Has to be implicit. This particular term has to be implicit. Okay, so what do you write? You have to write these equations like this: un delta t. You cannot write this explicitly. This cannot be written explicitly. So this has to be replaced by implicit n plus v del u del y n and minus 1 by rho del p del x n plus 1 plus nu del 2u del x2 plus del 2u del y2, and this is n. Similarly for y v equation, okay. Similarly for v equation you can do yeah, I think it just moved. Okay. So here instead of n it should be n plus 1. Okay. So we have this equation number 1. We have this now new equation number 2, and our equation number 3 is already your del u del x plus del v del y, and this has to be always n plus 1. These three equations. So these three equations are essentially uh, solved in the SMAC. Okay, so these three equations are solved. Okay, equations 1, 2, and 3 are solved using SMAC. Okay, so although it appears like that SMAC is an explicit method, it's not. This term cannot be explicit, so it is like implicit, semi-implicit. Okay, so it is like semi-implicit, partially implicit. Okay, semi-implicit. So SMAC algorithm is a essential. So we'll see in the next class how do we solve these equations 1, 2, 3 to get the solution. Okay, so in the next class we will see. using a SMAX algorithm how to solve this equation 1, 2 and 3. So I'm stopping the class here. Tomorrow we'll see the procedure for solving.